Hi, I'm Mia and I study psychology at Bath Spa University. So all four of our psychology courses here are accredited by the British Psychological Society, which is the first step towards becoming a chartered psychologist. You can choose to study either a general psychology degree, like me, or you can choose to specialise in business psychology, educational psychology or forensic psychology. I chose to study psychology at Bath Spa because of the optional criminal and forensic module that's available in Year 2, as a lot of psychology courses at other universities don't have this option. The course covers the 5 main psychological perspectives: cognitive, developmental, biological, social and individual differences. We have access to facilities such as the computer lab, which is where we conduct our research methods module. We also have access to certain software such as JASP, which we use for our data analysis. The main piece of advice that I'd give to someone wanting to study psychology at university is to keep an open mind. There are so many paths that you can go down with a psychology degree, and there's always going to be certain topics that you don't enjoy, but I'd say definitely keep an open mind, explore all the paths until you find the right one for you.
I chose to study psychology at Bath Spa Uni because I was always interested in psychology and never really had the opportunity to sort of delve into it at A-level. And I chose this course because it provided so many different modules with so many different disciplines of psychology.
I looked at 3 universities in total, and it was only BSU that offered the specific course that I'm on, and it also offered the BPS accreditation, which is what I need.
Bath Spa was definitely the right choice for me because of the deep sense of community here. The environment's just so lovely, the staff are all so great at catering to everyone's individual needs, and seeing the university care dogs around campus just makes any day 10 times better.